Okay, welcome to the Connecting the Dots podcast, the show where we break down communication theories and connect them to real life. And I am your host, Nopal. And today we are talking about something we've all experienced. Why do people communicate so differently, even in a exact same situation? So in this episode, we are diving into message design logic, a theory communication scholar, Barbara O'Keefe. That theory developed by scholar Barbara. So basically, it helps explain how our personal beliefs about what communication is supposed to do shape the way we talk, especially during conflict, emotional moments, or even when we are trying to influence someone. So to help us unpack this, I'm joined by Charles, our expert for today. Um, we will walk through the three types of message design logic, which are expressive, conventional, and rhetorical, and talk about what they actually look like in everyday conversation. So, Charles, let's start with expression logic. How does expression logic influence the way someone communicate their thoughts and feeling in everyday situation?
Oh, thank you for having me. Well, I would say expressive logic, it kind of centers on self-expression. Individuals, people that use this approach, they tend to speak openly, straight from the hip per se, kind of they don't filter like what comes out their mouth. They're just, it comes from their mind, straight out their mouth. I do have an example, like say, if you're with a group of friends and, one of your friends get a phone call and say, hey, you know, you got the job or something like that. Your friend might jump up, hey, I got the job, not really paying attention to how others around may feel, but that's one aspect of the expressive logic. Like they just it's like I said, it's straight off the cuff and it's just live and direct. A lot of people appreciate that, but sometimes the situation may you know kind of dictate, or you know what I mean, like how people accept that. So yeah, that's basically expressive logic.
That makes a lot of sense. So thank you for explaining that so clearly. Okay, so building on that, what challenges might arise when a person who use expressive logic tries to hold back their opinions or emotion during conversation?
Yeah, that's another aspect of expressive logic. You know, for individuals who communicate like that, like it can be really difficult to hold back, their thoughts. Like when something comes up, they're so used to, saying how they feel, or, what they would do in that situation. And, it can even make individuals frustrated or feel anxious about the situation. And, they may struggle with that. You know what I mean? So, um, that can be difficult for individuals who communicate with an expressive logic, to really, filter what they're saying, or, you know, kind of read in the room, like, it's like their way, or, nothing else matters.
Hmm. Yeah, they might feel uncomfortable if they, have to hold back what they really want to open it up, right?
Yeah. And that
So,
can, like I said, that can create other issues, you know what I mean, with the feeling anxious, or it might mess up the rest of their conversation, or the rest of their communication for the night, because they feeling like, oh, I'm holding this information in and I got to let it out. But that's kind of the give and take with expressive logic.
mhm. Thank you. That's really helpful way to look at it. Charles, so now let's move into conventional logic. So this one's more about social rules and what consider appropriate. So in what way does conventional logic shape a person's understanding of what is considered appropriate communication in different social contexts?
Yeah, yeah. The conventional logic, from my understanding, is it's kind of all about just being appropriate in a situation. Individuals, people that use this logic, they have a keen awareness. They pay close attention to the social norms and roles and expectations that are in their current situation. So they kind of, you know, tailor their thoughts, or they tailor their communication um, for the situation at hand. Like, if you're in a formal job interview, you will talk differently than if you're, what I'm saying, you out with your friends at the bar. The communication, is going to change, unlike expressive logic, where it's all the same. And, that may help the people that's dealing with conventional logic to kind of navigate the situation, to kind of, I don't know, make sure that, they're, like I said, being appropriate and polite in the situation. But the drawback is others around you, they may feel that the individual using this conventional logic is not being authentic. So,
Mm,
that may cause, more issues.
mm. Yeah, I like the way you explain it. They see such kind of people, they see communication as a way to maintain social order, I think. So thank you, Charles. So, okay, so here's something I'm really curious about. In situation where social expectations and personal belief do not align, how might someone using conventional logic respond if they feel that the right thing to say conflict with their personal beliefs?
Yeah, yeah, that's a big thing when dealing with the conventional logic. Like, when individuals maybe experience a conflict between their personal beliefs and what everyone else may take as right, they may choose, to say something that may not be completely authentic to themselves per se. And they may just, set the priority as, keeping harmony in the situation, kind of a give and take. Like, they weigh the options in their mind and just be more diplomatic. Like say, like, okay, like for example, like President Obama, like he was very diplomatic in what he said. Like it just seemed like he always said the right thing, but it was like you weren't really sure if this how he felt, or is this how he felt would, keep the conversation going smoothly, you know. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say that the conflict, between social expectations and personal beliefs are.
Mm. That's great points, and thank you for explaining that balance. I like it.
Excuse me.
So, Charles, now let's talk about rhetorical logic. So, how does rhetorical logic enable communicators to negotiate multiple goals and create design outcome in a conversation?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, with rhetorical logic, it's like a it's like a tool that people use to kind of shape and mold situations, depending on their own personal goals. Now, communicators, like if they're looking, to persuade, or they're looking to motivate others or resolve a conflict, you know, they may, use the rhetorical logic to kind of, shape the situation where their goals and their outcomes, will be met to kind of, you know, get the support of others, whether, like I said, whether you're trying to persuade people to do something, or you're trying to motivate, say you want somebody to support you for a cause, you may frame the conversation differently. If you're saying, "Hey, I need your support," rather than, you know, "I just want you to do something." You know what I mean? So, you know, it's just it's just the way individuals kind of present the communication to others.
Yeah. That explanation really ties it all together, Charles. Thank you so much. And Charles, for our last question, so let's dig a little deeper into rhetorical logic. Um, why is it important for someone using rhetorical logic to focus on the effect of their message on the recipients rather than only on self-expression or social appropriateness?
Yeah, yeah. See, when you're dealing with the rhetorical way, um, focusing on how others will perceive your message, it kind of allows the communicator to be more effective. By considering this, they can tailor the message to maximize the impact. You know, whether that's, like I said, inspiring others, or trying to tailor your message so individuals will know exactly, excuse me, so they'll know exactly what you're saying. Um, or simply just trying to resolve a disagreement between people. This approach goes, you know, beyond the, "Hey, I'm going to," the expressive, "I'm going to," say how I feel. It's kind of, you know, it kind of blends it, you know, like the social rules, and also getting your message out. It kind of puts it all together. And it's about, creating, I would say, meaningful change,
Mm,
looking to um, arrive at a desired outcome.
mm, wow. That's a strong key takeaway, I think. And thank you for sharing this, Charles. I would like to say thank you so much for explaining us very clear. Charles, thank you for your wisdom. I know you're explaining this area, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me.
And that's wrap up today's episode. So huge thank you again to Charles for helping us break down message design logics and show us how different communication style really shape the way we interact. And if there's one thing to take away, it's this: communication is not just about what we say, it's about how we think communication works. And that belief influence every message we send. So as you go through your week, try pay attention to how you design your messages and also how other people design theirs too. And then once you realize that not everyone communicate the same way, it become a lot easier to avoid misunderstanding and having smoother, more meaningful conversation. And thank you for listening to the Connected Dots podcast. See you next time.